So what we want to do now is really open the floor up to you and to those following online via the hashtag #YourTeam to ask some questions to our esteemed experts on our panel here. We've had a couple of questions online already, so I'm going to start with a couple of these. Tamsin, let's start with you, because there's been a couple of questions about email marketing, about the power of email marketing, and the fact that it's obviously part of our extended solution in our partnership. But how is it? How has it grown? How has email marketing become something that's just not optional? It's something you have to do as a business.
I think that's, I apologise, by the way, I'm slightly losing my voice today. I think that's fairly easy to demonstrate. I mean, if anybody in the room who has used email for business today, like just your own email for business today, put your hand up. Anyone who has not got their hand up is lying and lazy, by the way. And I can see you, and I will find you later. But that's the point. I think email is now business as usual. And you want to look at email in terms of how you can actually combine it with other digital marketing methods rather than just looking at it on its own. I think the most recent stats that I heard for the UK show that email marketing has a really high return on investment of £38 for every £1 that you actually spend on it. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Excellent. Have we got any questions from the floor before we move on to the other questions that we've had online? Yeah, we've got a question over here. We've got a microphone which we'll bring across to you so that everybody can hear. Maybe say who you are and where you're from. That will make it.
Yeah, hi. My name's Barry. I'm from Leicestershire Garden Design. My question's, is it Tamsin? Sorry. Yeah, we're thinking of starting the relationship marketing approach to our business and kind of building a story around that. And we're just thinking we've not quite bought into any tools to help us with that at the moment, because we're sort of novices where that's concerned. What platform would you say we sort of start with to kind of get that going?
I can highly recommend Constant Contact as my current employer. I actually used to use Constant Contact myself as a customer, and I was a business partner of Constant Contacts before I joined the company about 3 years ago. But I would say I would love you to have a look at us. We have a free trial. Talk to the guys at Creare about it. But whoever you use, you want to make sure that they're the right fit for your business. So think about what you want to get out of your email marketing, what you want your email marketing tool to do, and then find one that fits that. And talk to some people who are customers of that tool as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Warren, over to you. The first page 1 of your book, says something which I opened the book and I started to read it after we met at the business show, and we'll talk about that later on in terms of networking and connections that you talked about in your keynote. The first page of your book says the following: "This book isn't for you if you've spent time and money with an agency and it's worked for you." What a fantastic, that's a fantastic testimonial, I hope, for Creare. But the question is this: what do you see as the biggest constraint for businesses embracing digital marketing, either by themselves or taking that step into using an agency, or even recruiting people directly to work into their own team?
So from my perspective, it's about kind of the knowledge share around all of that. As businesses and business owners, we're all really busy. And so there are so many different moving parts within our business. We're wearing our sales hat, we're in our marketing hat, we're in our shareholders hat, whatever it might be. It's about sharing that knowledge. And I think one of the reasons what I love about sort of what you guys are doing, and the reasons why kind of we're working together, is that it's important for those, especially sort of macro and small businesses, to understand, they've got to understand their customer. So many companies don't truly understand who their customers are, or really what their value proposition is, because the business has evolved over the years in regards to where it was at and where it's at now. But by taking that knowledge on board and just doing some small work within yourself, like a bit of email marketing. I mean, what did you say, £1 for every £38?
£38 for every pound.
38 pence for every pound. So, I know for me, I've got sort of 7,000 people that are on my database. I know what the value of that is every time I send out an email, what a monetary value that is. So by using tools like Constant Contact or MailChimp, some of the companies that are more cost effective, not like the Infusionsoft, which is very expensive, as a business owner, spend your time to do that yourself. When you realize that you're making mistakes, but there's a potential, but you sort of know what it is that you want, for me, that's a great time to have a conversation with people like Tom and Hannah, because you've got a bit of an understanding. You haven't just jumped on a webinar going, oh, I want to do inbound marketing and I want to generate £10,000. You've tested it, you've tried it, something's worked, but you now know that by giving it to an expert, you're going to get a great return on your investment.
I think is it £38 returned for every pound invested in email marketing? So a 38 to 1 ROI essentially. That's absolutely phenomenal, and why it's an important part of the mix. We've had a question from the Your Team hashtag from one of our clients, Broadbent Solicitors, that were unable to join us today, unfortunately. But they've sent the following question in. And James, welcome to the panel. James is Creare's technical director or creative director. He has many hats. In fact, it's his team that are the brains behind the reporting suite and the digital health check that we launched earlier today. But James, the question is this. From Broadbent Solicitors, when Google changes the game, how is it that Creare can keep them and our clients ahead of the game?
Well, that's actually a really good question. And I think one of the advantages at Creare, and one of the main reasons why I love Creare so much, is the size of our team and the variety of backgrounds that our team come from. People kind of live, sleep and breathe digital marketing, website design, email marketing, everything, day and night. And we've got a lovely process at Creare where we funnel all that through several R&D meetings that we have each month, and how we can actually make that effective for our client base and share that knowledge internally as well.
I think a good example of that is obviously the recent changes that Google made to their search algorithm that changed the prominence of websites that were not mobile friendly. And of course, the way in which we reached back out to our client base, where we developed maybe websites 18 months prior, and we obviously needed to turn them into mobile friendly sites.
Absolutely. I mean, in that example there, one of our team happened to learn about that weeks before that Google actually put out their press release to inform everybody of their changing the algorithm to favour mobile-friendly websites. And the fact that we got that information as quickly as we did allowed us to be very reactive and share that information with our customers, but also what the solution would be for those who still perhaps didn't have a mobile-friendly website.
Tamsin, how does Constant Contact do a similar thing? Because I know that you work in a proactive way with your client base and your partners as well.
Well, we focus very much on best practices for email marketing. So obviously we make sure that we comply with all of the spam legislation and make sure that our customers comply with all of that too. But then we try and go one step further. So I guess we kind of believe in moral email marketing. So for example, if you buy a database, you cannot use it with us. We will tell you to very nicely take your money somewhere else, because we don't believe in that, and we know that it affects the deliverability of all of our other customers as well. I mean, who actually buys anything from spam? And you don't have to put your hand up if you've bought Viagra or fake Rolexes. That's okay. We don't need to know. But you know, I think that must be the only thing that anyone ever buys from a spam email.
Fantastic. We've got another question from the floor here. Show of hands, questions. I'm scanning the room. We've got another question over here from Leicestershire Garden Design.
So I've got it's Barry again, Leicestershire Garden Design. I've got
Go
a
for it, Barry.
question for Warren. Warren, we actually hire a business coach, partner and I, and I was just listening to you speak. You're obviously you coach businesses as well, yeah? And looking at how everyone's kind of expert in the field, and it just got me thinking, would you recommend that as your business grows that you probably get a coach in different areas of the business, because as a coach you surely can't know everything?
Yeah, 100%. It's so important as the owner of the business to know where you're at and where you want to be. You know, my specialty is probably working with companies sort of sub 5 mil. So if you are a business and you want to go to 10 mil, I'm not going to be your guy to help you do that. You know, I'm not going to have the skill set or the knowledge to really help you take your company to that phase. I have people around me that I could bring to the table to help you, but it is a case of just being, you know, you've got to be transparent, but you as a business owner, know the coach, understand what the coach's background is, you know, have conversations with their current clients to make sure that you're getting the right person for working with you in your business. I've picked up so many new businesses through Growth Accelerator because that type of communication didn't happen at the beginning. And so when you get to the end of the process, the business owner hasn't got what they wanted and then complain back to Growth Accelerator. But it's so important right up front that you know exactly who you're working with and what your goals are.
You and I remember us having a conversation maybe 5 or 6 years ago when we first started working together, and one of the key things that you and I talked about with entrance to the pitch was about that fear of businesses raising their hand and saying, I don't know about this. They almost try and solve it for themselves. What are your thoughts on, you know, businesses reaching out to get that support and advice?
Yeah, I think it's really, really important. I think is, you know, there's always an amount of pride that you will have in your businesses. There's always the fact that it's your little baby and you want to look after it. But I think there has to be a real dose of reality in that you can't be an expert in everything. You're probably really, really good at what it is that you do, but there'll be other things that will help your business grow, that will help your business accelerate, and you need to get external help in. So that might be, you know, getting great guys like Warren involved. It might be that you want to get some financial experts involved to, you know, raise some mezzanine finance, or you're looking for a Series B funding, whatever it might be. There are people who can help you get more out of your business without compromising the integrity or, you know, why you kind of set off on that journey in the first place. And I think it is. I think there is a step that entrepreneurs need to take, and you know, as you say, put your hand up in the air and say, I could do some help, do with some help, yeah.
An interesting journey, because obviously Warren's just said, you know, 5 million, sub 5 million. We've got another one of our emerging partnerships actually in the audience today, Sherlaws, who provide probably coaching from 5 million onwards, or probably maybe a little bit sub that. But you know, fantastic handoff there, and check out Sherlaws online if that's the type of coaching and advice that your business needs. We've had another question in online from one of our newer clients, Pertemps, one of the UK's biggest recruitment agencies. Mus, here's an interesting question that I want you to tackle.
Goody.
The question is this: with Google being not only the first biggest search engine and second biggest search engine through YouTube, as you told us earlier, but also being, in Pertemp's mind, the biggest jobs board in the world, what does the future hold for job seekers and employers in a digital world? I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but Pertemps would love it if you answer that.
From the dawn of man, let me begin. Okay. So let me just take a slice, just a cross-sectional approach there. Let's just talk about digital and just hiring in digital, and just strictly my viewpoint. I think some of the trends that I think, broad trends, I think are really important. Like, you know, what are some of the competencies that people should look for when hiring across digital? There, you know, obviously some things are skill set specific, but there are some broader sort of competencies I think that are uniquely applicable to digital, and that's when it comes to personality. I think being an extrovert is super, super important. You have to have, your personality has to kind of fit your job. And digital is, everyone's connected. You're constantly communicating. Sometimes you have to over-communicate, and you have to convey, you have to project, you have to emote, you have to project, you have to communicate, you have to be comfortable communicating with lots of people all the time, and you have to be able to give feedback real time. So I think personality, it's super important to be extroverted. Now, you know, social media, obviously, it's important, but I think if you're in a customer-facing role, whether you're in marketing, you're in partnerships, it's super important to be extroverted and to be transparent and to be comfortable communicating with people all the time. I
was just thinking about that transparency thing, because of course, in days gone by, you could almost write your CV and send it in via post, and no one could really do any due diligence and checking of that. Yeah. But now you probably get found out quite quickly if you've created some sort of fake profile. Yiuwin, what are your thoughts on this? Because I know that you maybe wanted to say a few things on this question.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we just met a really awesome startup down at Mass Challenge, an incubator down in East London. Sorry, guys. Met an awesome startup down in East London, and through an incubator called Mus Challenge, and we talked about employee engagement and employer brand, and we talked about how businesses use their websites as a shop window, from an employment perspective, from a recruitment perspective. You need to make sure that your website, that your digital presence really reflects you, your business, your personality as a business. Because if you're recruiting, if you're adding to the team and you're growing, it's one of the most critical parts of growing a business is indeed increasing your headcount. So you need to make sure that the people that you bring on board are right for your business and that your business is right for them as well. So your digital presence has to reflect your personality as a business, I think. I think it has to really represent your values and the culture that you aspire to or that you deliver within the organisation.
Great. Have we got any questions from the floor? Yeah, we've got a question at the back here, if we can pass a microphone back.
Hi, I'm Martin from Air Equipment. We work in a B2B environment, and I think we find the social side of modern life as being, very encouraging and very good for B2C. Does anyone have any views on how we can use that effectively in B2B line?
Warren, do you want to start with that one?
I don't look at it like that. I just look at it people buy from people. So, that's what sort of find your niche and understand what your worth is and communicate that message to those people at whatever level that they're at. Communicate that message to the CEO and to the purchasing department, for instance, especially when you're looking at, we're talking about kind of personalities, bring your personality across as a business. Are you the owner of the business? Okay, so the owner of the business, for me, is always the person that stands at the front of the business and is the personality behind the brand. If that person is communicating what they do as a business and how their business works through content online, when you are sharing that type of content and you've got either people that you want to work with or partnerships that you want to build, when you have the owners of those companies reading each other's content online, that reduces the sales cycle. So that, for me, from a B2B perspective, is really key, is that content from the business and the tone of the voice of the business, and then sharing that message with the key stakeholders in whether it's your company you want to work with or a client you want to bring on board. So for me, it's just people buy from people.
I think certainly one of the things that I've always thought is there was this unnecessary segmentation of B2C and B2B, because at the end of the day, it's people communicating with other people. And obviously one of the ways that we do that is through email marketing as well. Tamsin, what are your thoughts on how we address that in terms of speaking to those different audiences, but them all being human beings at the end of the day?
I think that's exactly the right point. And it comes back to something that Warren was saying earlier, and I say a lot to audiences as well, which is find out where your customers hang out online. And, that's going to be in their email inbox. It's going to be on specific social networks, but, more so in some industries than others or in some business types than others. And then go there. It's one of those things where... that's a very common question that I get asked, and I could reel off case studies, but until you actually kind of just jump in, you won't find out how successful it is. And I built a B2B business myself, predominantly through email, social, and face-to-face.
I just like to add one comment. So commitment and planning. Sounds really vague, but if you're going to develop and execute a messaging strategy, no matter what channel it is, the audience, whether it's consumers, whether it's businesses, then you've set an expectation. And a lot of companies get into marketing and they don't understand the long-term planning required to have a full communication strategy. Once you start that, then you always have to have a message. It has to be timed, and people start expecting whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, and it's a long-term thing. So it's really, really important to think through your long-term messaging strategy.
Yiuwin, you mentioned earlier about the kind of hiccup in the road for the pitch, but you emerged out the other side in the competition and the company's never been stronger. In terms of your journey and your planning from a marketing perspective, what are your insights? You talked a bit about the journey, but what were the kind of key things that really changed or allowed you to kind of think with clarity about your business strategy?
I think the big thing from we'll learn eventually. So one of the big things is very much think about your end users. So think about the guys and the girls that you're trying to reach out to. Think about what they do in their day-to-day. Think about how you can make a positive difference to their lives and their livelihood with whatever products or services that you do. So part of the journey we went on with the pitch was thinking about what were the pressures that entrepreneurs face every day. Where do they struggle? Where do they need advice? Where do they need help? And we used data to find that out. So we looked at which were the most read articles on our site. We looked at what things were trending on Twitter. We looked at what were the most popular topics across all the social networks, and that's where we kind of started our journey. And then we started the whole testing process. This being really methodical around tailoring your message and what it is that you kind of put out there into the internet, into whichever channels that you're using, and just making sure that it adds value. Warren talks a lot about adding value. And I can't really stress that point enough. If you can make a positive intervention with one of your end users, then they will remember you, they will know you, they will hold you in the right light, and that is the first step to a meaningful engagement.
James, in terms of Creare's journey, obviously the company's now, I've been there a year, but you were there from day one, which was, you're 21 now, so you were like 10 when it started? What was the...
9 years, 3 months.
You were 9 years old when it started?
No, no.
God.
Yeah, no, it's been literally 9 years, about 3 months since I joined Creare.
So can you think about, what is it that's different now? Obviously, probably vastly different in terms of the way in which we fulfilled our customers' needs 9 years ago versus now, and the way in which customers have engaged with us and the way that we've changed as the landscape, the market changes, and our customers' businesses have changed.
I think over the journey I've been through with Creare, I've actually seen a huge transition. Initially, for us, it was just about creating a pretty picture, a good-looking website that people clicked onto and could almost kind of explore as an online brochure of a business. The way that digital marketing has kind of tiered into the way we work has been really refreshing. We naturally progressed into video, then onto search marketing, both organic and paid. And today we're announcing our partnership to support email marketing. It truly can provide a full range of marketing solutions to the internet for all businesses. And even just going back to Martin's question about how does social media help a B2B? I mean, in my experience, I do believe social can help any business, because there's a key aspect of social media which I call, or the industry calls, social proof. And if somebody was to search for your business online, it'd be wonderful to see in the search results, alongside your ad or your listing, people talking about your business. Even if it's a simple review on a third-party website or on Google itself, it just gives that little bit of validation to somebody that gives them the confidence that you're a real business, you're doing an incredible job. And social media for you, Martin, perhaps might be outreaching to customers after they've worked with you to share their experience and share their positive feedback with the internet, almost a social media kind of the other way around. So being able to even have that conversation, talk about social that way today, it's been completely different to how it would have been 9 years ago, when it was literally a case of creating a Flash-based website.
And actually, it connects to a question that we've had in online from Action Intuitive. I hope they're not a competitor. But anyway, we'll answer the question. Your question's welcome. Please continue to ask questions via the hashtag #YourTeam. I don't think there's going to be a simple answer to this question. Warren, maybe you want to tackle it first. What is the simplest way to create brand awareness from social media? Yeah.
So, for me, the starting place is about being consistent, both from a visual perspective and from a content perspective across all of the social networks. So make sure that your brand message is the same as you sort of saw earlier with Creare's Twitter page. That reflects their website. I didn't go to their Google Plus account, but I'm hoping that reflects what that looks like. So as a starting point, you never know where your potential clients will come from, but just give yourself that first opportunity to have brand consistency across all social networks. So that's where I'd start.
Great. Anybody else want to tackle that in terms of how to create? I think it's broader, in fact, than just creating a brand impression on social media, but more of a brand impression across any of the channels that it is that you want to engage in, right? Tamsin?
Do good stuff, make people happy, engage with them online, and then because you're doing that in public fora, because social media channels and email now, they're really public fora, then people will see that.
Great, thank you. Mus?
Planning and having an editorial voice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really cool, that's a key point, and I think one of the key things that's happened in Creare's journey is Creare was known as this fantastic technical thought leader in terms of, SEO, and in terms of, e-commerce. We've got one of the most popular SEO extensions in kind of techie speak for the Magento platform, and of course what we've done is not forgotten that heritage, but pivoted towards being a thought leader in the SME space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you've mentioned, our SEO extension for Magento just aims to fill in a few gaps that we've learnt over our experience. And we've used that at Creare to kind of leverage our brand. We've been invited by Magento to make it ready for Magento 2, which they're launching later this year. And it's just little and often, I believe. My first instinct when we were asked the question was do something viral and hope for the best. But it's only a temporary thing. Even if you build a bigger following and a bit of a reputation, that's only kind of short-term. Consistency online with social media is the way, I believe, to really reach out and build that brand.
Have we got any questions from the floor? Yeah, we've got a question right in the front here. Who's got the microphone? Here we go. Rob's behind you.
Hello, my name's Sam from Coach House Pianos. I have a question. You mentioned Bright Pearl earlier. Is there full synchronization between that CRM, Constant Contact, and the Magento software?
I'm not going to comment on Constant Contact. I'll let Tamsin do that. But Bright Pearl and Magento link seamlessly together. It's one of the first things that they did to link that together. We'll be announcing some more information. Unfortunately, Bright Pearl couldn't join us today, but we still wanted to make the announcement because we think it's part of the toolkit that's fundamental for businesses. But that connection between Bright Pearl and Magento is absolutely seamless and designed for the very purpose of helping customers and people that use the Magento platform to be able to manage that stock order, workflow, customer engagement, and delivery process. More information, I would advise go to the Bright Pearl website. In terms of Constant Contact and its integration with other platforms and e-commerce, there's plenty of tools and integration built in, right?
Yeah, we have a whole wheelbarrow full of, or very big wheelbarrow, maybe a skip, full of integrations. I know that the Magento one, I think that's one that's in development at the moment, or is it finished? I'm being nodded at from the back. Oh, okay, so it's on the Magento marketplace. I'm reliably informed by my colleague at the back who is more in touch with Magento than me. But yeah, so we don't have one with Bright Pearl directly right now, but you could use those three together that way.
Fantastic. Thank you. Have we had any new questions in on the Twitter hashtag?
Yes, we have actually.
Rob, please tell us.
We've got a question from Tom Mellish, and this is for Warren. The question is, you focused on Twitter in your keynote. How do you feel about businesses that outsource their social pages to agencies or use tools that grows their audience via auto-following and auto-tweeting?
Oh.
I'll come back to what Tamsin was talking about, buying lists. It's exactly the same kind of process. You're never going to get the type of target customers that you want that are engaging with you, are building trust with you to come and be a happy customer. So, everything that I do, whilst I sort of did mention earlier, I've got various other different Twitter accounts that I have virtual assistants that look after those Twitter accounts, but they are broken down into a 7-day social media plan. All that content signed off by me at the beginning of the week and then is used as a tool to amplify that message, and then the two-way conversations happen. So as a business, and I'll sort of come back to what I was talking about earlier, do it, understand it, work out what's working for you, and then hand it over.
And there is a difference between using those get 5,000 followers for $5 type tools and also outsourcing to a reputable agency that spends the time to understand your voice and what you need and all of that stuff. Those are not the same thing.
No.
It's all about relevance, isn't it, at the end of the day, making sure that you're connecting with a relevant audience that is your target market, and at the end of the day is a potential to either amplify your voice further or buy something from you, I suppose. Have we got any other questions from the floor? Yeah, we've got a question. Barry. Where's the... here we go, Rob's behind you with the microphone.
Sorry, I was looking at Twitter again.
That's right, this is turning into a one-to-one coaching session. Go for it.
Thank you. Just another question to Tamsin, actually. With the email marketing, and everyone kind of says, find out where your target market is, and I guess that's why how-to's kind of 3 times as popular with Google. And how do we do that? Where's the market research platforms for me to do that? I know there's srds.com is one that kind of works in America, but where do we start to look for our target market in terms of the research?
In terms of email, are you talking about?
No, I mean, you're saying, find out where your target market hang out.
Yeah.
How do we start to do that?
Ask them. Ask your find your top 5 customers, and you know who they are because they're the ones that pay you on time, and you actually don't hate when they phone up. And we all have those ones, the other ones. But ask them which channels they use, and that's a great place to start. But there's one of the benefits of Google is that you can ask the Googles where which industries are using which tools and all those kind of things, and there's loads and loads of data out there. I would just take a look, because if I'm presuming you're UK specific in the work that you do, a lot of the data that you might turn up will be either US based or global, so you want to just make sure you're being a bit smarter with your search. But I always say ask your customers.
Thank you.
One of the questions that we've had in is, Mus, you talked a lot about search. It's exponential almost, mobile, multi-device, multi-screen. But let's go a little bit narrower. Where's next for local search? Because a lot of the companies that we deal with maybe aren't completely across the UK or global, but they operate in more tight geographic regions. Where's next for local search?
Well, let's start with this. 2/3 of mobile search is local. So, I mean, I think that's pretty telling. People are, they live online. So people use mobile. The search is something, it's done in the moment. In the moment is right now. It's also what's around me. And that's really it. I mean, and that's growing.
Yeah.
So.
Great. I'm going to fire off, we've got a few minutes left, I'm going to fire off some more questions because we've had quite a few. James, controversial question online. Why should people trust Creare's digital health check? Why should we trust Creare's view of their website? Aren't we just making a score look less attractive so that we sell them something?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. And I think with my role over the years, I've had a lot of experience using a lot of online tools that have been created by third parties, tools by Google, tools by companies worldwide. And the advantage of the tool that we've shared today is its first initial purpose wasn't actually to launch it here today. We actually created it internally so that we could get the key information that we know matters there at our fingertips straight away. So things like being mobile friendly, having a fast loading website, and as Richard was talking earlier on the Jack the Ripper tour, just to even see how many reviews are visible online with Google+. So really bringing all that together into our own formula with what we know works, with all of that kind of aggregated research and development that we do internally, it's given us a tool that we're really proud of and proud to share here with everybody today. And then it's giving it in a language that everybody understands, rather than having a really technical web design specific statement or failure. We talk about it in business terms, not only how to fix it, but also what that means and how that could be hindering your website. And the third part is the opportunity analysis. Even though it's just an estimate and we can put in an area radius with a few keywords, just to roughly gauge what kind of search appetite is out there, that was a tool that we needed at our fingertips that didn't exist, so we simply made it. And because it worked really well for us internally, we thought we'd share it here with everybody today. So rather than just putting up another tool like you can find online, we wanted to make something that was kind of bespoke, that was based on a recipe and a formula that we know works. So that's why I believe people should use and trust our tool.
And again, I think one of the brand values, and we talked about our identity and what we wanted to be in the market. Actually, if people go online and use the digital health check and then go and interrogate and challenge their own other agency, then that's okay too. We've been helpful and help businesses achieve success.
Absolutely. I mean, everything that's going on behind the tool, all the various data sets we're calling, we're even pinging Google's API for page speed, for example. All that information is sat there in the background, and whilst at the moment it is in a business-first language, in a future update that we do want to plan to do is to actually make the web designer version where we can list all the technical coding that somebody could literally copy and paste and send to their developer that we can share internally. So absolutely, the sky's the limit with the tool, but we wanted to make sure as a priority we could work with it with our clients, with our customers to show them what matters.
Fantastic. Last couple of questions, Warren. This is a question from me. We met at the business show.
We did.
We were at one stand. Warren was presenting in this kind of seminar room over here, and we formed a connection. And I suggested to you, hey, we're doing this event. Do you want to be our keynote speaker? And here you are. Networking, essentially. But I hate nothing more than people that network for the sake of networking, because I believe that they're fundamentally delivering no value. So how do people achieve successful business networking without that being their sole purpose in life and actually delivering some value at the back end?
So I think it comes back to something that I mentioned earlier, is about kind of when you've had that phone call and you have that meeting, make sure it's for a purpose. Back in, it was about 2007, I started to really understand kind of personal development. I spent 3 days with Anthony Robbins, networked with lots of people, thinking it was great, this is what I was going to do, meeting all these people, and they were going to be great connections for me. And actually, it was the wrong place to network in regards to what I wanted to achieve from a business perspective. So over the years, I've done lots of networking, and you begin to learn over time exactly what works for you as an individual. So if you're an extrovert and you enjoy being at the front here, or if you're more of an introvert and having those one-to-one meetings, I think when you're doing that networking, there are some great groups that there's a first Friday of every month where it's a small group of people and you can have really nice one-to-ones. Or there's meetups where there are 50, 60 people there that you just want to get pissed and have a chat. So it's just find out what works for you as an individual, understand kind of who you are and know what you want to get out of that.
And obviously networking is one of the fundamental things that sits behind the success of the pitch, but it's done in a really useful way. What have you seen over the years in terms of people really gaining experience and ideas from that sort of approach?
It's a tricky one, actually. We see loads of great entrepreneurs. I think naturally most entrepreneurs that we meet are quite extroverted anyway, so they're quite comfortable with chatting about themselves, chatting about their businesses. What do we see? What's positive? I think just going back to what Warren was saying. You have to make sure you network in the right places. You have to know what it is you're trying to get out of it as well. So in regards to the pitch, it is around meeting people who are like-minded. It's not necessarily about going out there and closing deals or getting leads and things like that, but it's actually about something perhaps a little bit more precious around that. It's a little bit more around support and having that kind of social support around you, and people who just get it, and people that you can confide in, people that you can talk to, and people that you can ring up late at night and say, this has gone wrong, or this is great, and they understand, they celebrate, or they commiserate with you. I think if you can get that whole personal connection. We use the thing in Swift Media quite a lot. There's so much email and stuff that goes around, dare I say it, in a Digital Demystified event. But we say #humanity a lot. If you can get up and go and talk to somebody, why send an email? Just go up and talk to people.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. We've got the final question online, which really, kind of, I don't know, sums up, I guess, the support and advice that we can provide to businesses. And it's a very simple question. What are the most common mistakes that businesses make, and what's the best way to overcome them? We have just a one-sentence soundbite answer from everybody. Mus, I'm putting you on the spot. Common mistakes, best way to overcome them.
Confusing marketing with advertising, and building a marketing program without fully thinking through a long-term brand identity and editorial voice. And that compromises your entire outbound communication strategy, your digital assets, and your core customer-facing messaging. So that would be my thing.
I think for me, it's about authenticity. I think it's about businesses trying to pretend to be something they're not. I see this particularly with micro businesses and startups. If it's just you and the cat, say I, not we. And people connect with that. They want to know who the people are behind the business.
I guess don't think about your digital presence as one thing, your website or your email marketing. Think of the whole spectrum of digital tools that are available. Prioritize them with what you know works for your business, and always process and kind of develop that campaign based on all of those assets that are to hand, rather than just always that one.
So I think my advice would be just make sure you keep your end users or your customers very much front of mind. A favourite saying, the soundbite I suppose, is that you can't walk around in somebody else's shoes until you take off your own. And that is about not thinking about your business just around your knowledge and your experience of what you do, but think about your customers and what they'll be thinking about and the key messages that they need to take away.
You can hold that because I know you enjoy speaking into it. I think for me, it's online has really confused the whole marketing sales process. I think it's really clear companies need to understand how they market themselves and what that means to their sales process. If you're an online store and it's you're putting out a product and say, come and buy my product, it's only $39.99, it's the best in the world, that is not marketing your brand. That is asking for the sale from somebody who you don't know. So the lines have blurred online, and they are making that more confusing for us as businesses. So just make sure that you understand what your marketing funnel is and what the sales process is that reflects the marketing that your business is doing.
Let's give the guys a round of applause.